Guys, we have a loaded one for you today. Oh my gosh. I didn't want to make so many Pedgo2 videos, but things keep coming up. And as things keep coming up, I feel like, you know, I have to, basically. And to get some things out of the way, to be clear, I made a series, a very long, detailed series on Pedgo2, detail by detail interpretations. Funny, this guy who made the cartoon, or was the lead maker, he said that it came to him in visions. That's what happened to me. His interpretation, or my interpretation of his animation, also came to me in very profound and detailed visions. Now, you would have to go back quite far to find this series, ladies and gentlemen. But if anyone is interested, um, I think we're almost there. So it starts around here. So I talk about CERN. Yeah, there we go. The crystalline tree of life. It starts there. The crystalline tree of life and Pedgo2. Here we go. So all of these videos from a year back or so. Basically, the cartoon is about Isis, Osiris, Lilith, and Horus, and the exchange of power between one deity or one god to the next. So, for millennia, Osiris, Horus's father, has been ruling over Earth, and he used Lilith, who was the original sort of leader of the Garden of Eden, or what we think of as the Garden of Eden. I call it the Crystal Garden. She was subverted and subdued and hypnotized by these deities, and Osiris is a reptilian king. Um, so this exchange in power is they don't like each other. The father and son are not happy with each other, and Obama is Osiris. He represents Osiris in Ipetgoat2, and he's unhappy that Horus right here is going to come in anthropomorphic form as a human deity. He's going to birth out of our sun, whether that's literal or figurative, I don't know. Whether the sun will explode, whether he'll come from within the earth, nobody really knows. But this is an exchange of authority from one king to the next, okay? And what's interesting is that this guy, way up here, not too long ago, I talked about him, Albert Pike, recently started reading his book, Morals and Dogma, and a lot of what he says about Isis, Osiris, and Horus is somewhat similar in some regards. So I thought that was a pretty interesting synchronicity. But okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's some things we got to talk about. Two things. I'm going to split this into two. First of all, the Heliofant website has changed. He has updated the website for the first time in 11 years, just like he uploaded a video for the first time in 11 years. This was not like this at all. This was never here. All of this was not here, guys. There was no lunar eclipse in this background. The front page looked like this. Okay. It was very basic like this. Okay, this was all that was here. These descriptions. Just these descriptions of these characters. Okay? So I haven't even read this yet. Okay? I have not even looked into this myself. So let's see what he says about his own cartoon. I'm not going to be arrogant and be like, I know his cartoon better than him, but I think there's more powerful forces at play, not just some guy in Canada making a cartoon. There's something really profound going on here, okay? So let's just skim through this. Maybe we'll read it all, maybe not. I don't want to take up too much time on this. So, look, first things first, I would like to start off by saying that the film came to me in its visual form, much like a painter who sees colors and forms in his mind's eye. And I tried to be faithful to what I saw without necessarily understanding what the symbols were alluding to. Some of the symbols were pretty obvious to decipher, whereas some scenes had me scratching my head and took me some time to understand. So he didn't even understand what he was seeing. I do not pretend to be an expert in symbology, and I'm learning this as I go along. I do not claim any truth as I understand it. Language is an outpouring of archetypes, which are much more profound and more encompassing. To try and explain the symbols with common language is slightly reductive. It's like trying to explain a poem. Having said that, many people have asked me to explain my work, and I'm sensitive to their requests, so I will try to provide some possible suggestions for the interpretation to the most commonly asked questions, but hope you'll keep in mind that your answer is probably better. Ha! The hope is that it will provide some stimulation for inquiry and discussion. So my question to you, creator of Ipetgoat2, is that why are you doing this now instead of 5 years ago, 10 years ago? You had these very basic descriptions of your characters. Okay, it's strange to me that you would suddenly want to illuminate us with your wisdom at this time in particular. There are themes interwoven into the film, but the main story is about the crumbling away of the hierarchical world based on control and oppression, and the rising of spiritual man, awake to his divine nature, free of intermediaries' fire in his eyes. The illuminated man. So, right, I hope to God that this illuminated man is not the song I shared recently, Format the World, where the illuminated man is zeros and ones, binary, become the singularity. I hope that's not what this means. I would rather just run the hell away as fast as possible. Um, because this sort of illumination I'm skeptical of, okay, as anyone should be. The Christ character in his boat is reminiscent of Ra, the Egyptian sun god who travels the sky in a celestial boat. In the evening, he descends into the underworld, a sort of death, and in the morning, he is resurrected and lights up the sky. The theme of resurrection was an important motif in the life of Egyptians. Fair enough. Okay. I still think it's Horus. It could be Ra. He says it's Ra, let it be Ra. Anubis, the jackal-headed god, is the Greek name for the earlier Egyptian deity Anapa. He is associated with the afterlife and protects the souls of men in their journey through the underworld. He also weighs the truth and the heart of those souls before deciding their fate. Anubis is often associated with Ipetgoat2, who is the wolf's head, and is a war deity of Egypt. He is called Opener of Ways. He opens up the way for the army to move in. For the army to move in. World War III is what he's actually covertly trying to say, in my opinion, right here. I heard many people say that the symbology is satanic in nature. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Um, it depends on what you mean by Satan, but Osiris, the reptilian god, is basically what we think of as Satan, ladies and gentlemen. The reptilian overlord who ruled this world for millennia. I do not believe it is, so he doesn't believe it is. It is more about the intent invested in them. Okay, that's true. It is made to for you to see what you want to see in some sense. Okay, I'll agree with him on that. It could potentially have positive, uplifting qualities, depending on how you look at it. But deep down, there's some dark shit here, guys. There's some dark shit. Okay, whatever he says here. In all religions, there are truth-seeking souls and people who corrupted the intent of the original symbols. The fear is that the film subverts the Christ symbol to the message of Satanism. I would say it's the opposite. It is about taking back the symbology that has been corrupted to degrade the human spirit and control man, and redressing those symbols by placing the Christ at the center of the narration. I like that, actually. I like that. That's actually quite noble. If that was his intention, I'm all for it. The all-seeing eye and the elite worldview is about control and surveillance of every person and aspect of society. When placed on the Christ character, it means the opening up of the third eye or pineal gland that permits an unhindered communication with God as well as other dimensions. See, I've been contacting other dimensions for years now, and so can everyone else if it opens up to them. In other words, clear spiritual vision. The triangle of his forehead represents divinity and is actually a symbol found in many churches to represent the divine source that is opposed to the pyramids in the final shot, which represents the top-down control system, where each layer is manipulated through deception by the layer above it, giving very few at the apex incredible power. So before I get into the last one, the apple. So the apple is the egg. Okay. So those of you forgot. The apple is the inseminated egg in which Horus births out of. You see the seed is inside the apple. He is the lotus, he is the wise one, birthing out. It's a symbol of birth. And so Obama's Osiris, he's nervous that Horus is taking over the throne. Okay? And he's going to take over the throne via this big solar flash, this coronal mass ejection from the sun, which will both create a chasm in the sun and in the earth simultaneously. And that's the literal interpretation I'm giving. If it is literal, not symbolic. See, the coronal mass ejection is right here and really obvious in your face. So he says that this is just, a symbol of regeneration and resurrection. But I feel, my opinion, this is a literal explosion of our literal sun. Literally will explode just like this in the sky, with asteroids coming down and everything. Whether that's now or in 2060, I really don't care anymore. It doesn't matter. Okay? But that's how I feel, and I feel like the apple is the inseminated or the fertilized egg. Okay, but let's see what he says. The guy who made the cartoon, what the apple is. Little Lily, our girl dressed in white, symbolizes purity. She is like the bride that holds the apple, which very much looks like a stain on her immaculate dress. The apple is a symbol of sin and shame and her inward divisions about herself, and have been cultivated by the rulers of society in order that she remain in her place, subservient like the children driven to apathy behind the barbed wires. Lily sees ridiculous spectacle in front of her and is completely exhausted. It seems she has been holding this apple forever, so she just let it slip away. Right, she's been holding it because Lilith, the queen of the crystal garden, she's been holding this apple seemingly, basically, forever. For a long time. She's in this loop. She's in a psychic cycle of hypnotism. So he's kind of right about that. But okay. So this is the weirdest part right here, guys, before we move on to part 2 of the video, is here are 2 interpretations you might find useful. And he shares these 2 sites as his favored interpretations of his cartoon. And they crap all over his cartoon. I'm like, what? I'm like reading this, and they're talking about FEMA camps and 666, and he's like, yeah, he's sharing this as a source. I'm not gonna read all this, guys. I'll share this in the link of this video, but I'm not gonna read all this. Okay, so if you want to, if you're interested, read this. But there's a lot of stuff in here that is pretty dark and weird that don't necessarily favor his own cartoon, but he's sharing it as a primary source of interpretation. And this, I haven't even looked at this yet, so I'm not going to speculate. But these two I'll share, and maybe I'll, the war that is winter. See, you could even see right here, okay? Okay, I'll agree that, there's a lot of religious symbolism with Christianity, Islam, and stuff like that. No doubt. No doubt about it. Even in this audio section right here, there's a lot of hidden audio, guys. It's super hard to hear and interpret, and that's going to be part two. Here we have Enter the Stars. He made a really good video I shared in the community post earlier, and he talks about the submarine that recently sank and its connection to
Cell windows, because this thing is
Ipetgoat2.
actually a tower.
And he
And
goes
I've
into
got it
detail
laying
on
on
how
its
these
side
two
here.
things match, and it's really
But look at
interesting.
this same
However,
thing. It almost looks
one
like a
thing
gate.
I will completely disagree. I'm not gonna play it because I don't. I know he's cool. I've talked to him before. There won't be any copyright issues, but just in case, okay. His interpretation of this message, however, is completely wrong. He says pressure reduction November 6th. That's not what I'm hearing one bit.
The woman's voice saying reduction pressure.
That's true.
Before we do that,
First two words
obviously
are
this
right.
is phallic imagery. Here's the tower here. It looks like a man laying down. We've covered this many, many times.
He has some super interesting interpretations, by the way.
And then you get these underground inferences here with these lights going under the side of the man, and
this man's mind is absolutely brilliant.
We'll call it. And to me, this suggests underground child trafficking.
Okay.
12.
So I don't know where he's getting this, because I'm hearing something that's related to what he just said, actually.
And listen
to what he just said.
I got this at 0.75% speed, so you can hear what this is that she's saying here. So it zooms in, and you see a woman in the tower, an old woman in the tower.
Right. Listen.
You see a beating heart.
Okay.
Now listen very carefully.
I am.
Reduction pressure, November 6th. I'm going to play it back one more time.
I don't know how he hears that. I do hear reduction pressure. Okay, Under the Stars. You're brilliant. You're genius. But I'm sorry. I'm hearing something completely different. You guys, let's go over this. He's right about this being a phallic symbol. And what is said in the background is related to this being a phallic symbol, actually. This is what I'm hearing. And I'm going to play it for you from this end. And once I say it, I think many of you guys will agree with you. Reduction pressure. Those two words are there, the first two. He's correct on that. Okay. One more time and then I'll say it. Reduction pressure. I want my sin. I want my sex. That's what it's saying. Listen after I said it. Reduction pressure. I want my sin. I want my sex. See, where is he getting November 6th? I don't know, but okay. I mean, maybe anybody hears whatever they want to hear. There's also a lot of hidden audio in here in this part as well. Much harder to pick up though. The background music really drowns this out. But I've managed to pick up a few words like vaccine in here. Uh, so I've listened to this a bunch of times and it's really hard to hear. But in basic terms, he's saying you have your own power, but you chose to give your power to us, or something of that nature. But I'm not going to promise you that's exactly what it is. But definitely the word power is in there, and the word control, and how, let's. You deny your true nature. You deny your true nature. That's what he's saying. You're giving your power to us. You deny your true nature. Listen. You believe in false narratives. That's the last. You believe in false narratives. Listen really carefully. False narratives. Really hard to hear. The illusion. Last word is the illusion. Hear that? The illusion. You heard that? So don't give me problems with that. I don't know. It was super, super difficult to hear. If anyone wants to help me out on this one, I wish there was a way to isolate the actual music from the freaking cartoon, but I don't know how to do that with a YouTube video. There was someone who tried to do it some years back, but it's super frustrating. Before I go, I think that's all I wanted to say. I'll share all of this down below after this video is uploaded. Okay, and hopefully this will be the last Ipetgoat2 video. I gotta hear this one more damn time. It's bothering me. You hear the voices in the background, right? It's not part of the song, by the way. If you listen to this song, it's called the Tanuki Project. If you listen to the song, this stuff isn't in the background. This was added in. Anyway, take it easy.